Deep within the ancient forests of India, a remarkable story has echoed through generations. A story the world is only beginning to discover. Long before India gained its independence, indigenous communities were fighting to protect their forests, their land, and their way of life. Among those courageous leaders, one name became a symbol of resistance: Birsa Munda. Born in the village of Ulihatu in 1875, Birsa grew up surrounded by forests that shaped his identity and his future. For the Munda people, the forest was never just a resource. It was home, teacher, and sacred heritage. But everything changed when colonial laws began taking away indigenous lands and forests.
Communities that had lived in these forests for generations suddenly found themselves treated as strangers on their own land.
As a young boy, Birsa witnessed these changes with growing determination. He listened to the wisdom of elders. He learned from nature and began questioning injustice. No one could imagine that this quiet young boy would soon inspire one of the most remarkable indigenous resistance movements in Indian history. As Birsa grew older, his curiosity led him beyond the forest. He wanted to understand why his people were losing everything they had protected for generations. Education opened a new world before him, revealing how colonial rule was transforming indigenous life. Across the region, he learned new languages and ideas, yet he never forgot the traditions, songs, and wisdom of his own community. He realized that the greatest strength of the Munda people was not wealth, it was unity, culture, and their deep relationship with nature. According to historical accounts, increasing pressure on land and forests deeply affected indigenous communities during this period. Birsa began traveling from village to village, listening more than speaking, learning from elders and ordinary families alike. His message was simple: protect your identity, preserve your traditions, and stand together with dignity. Many people began calling him Dharti Aba, meaning Father of the Earth, a title reflecting their respect and trust.
His growing influence united communities with a shared hope for justice, cultural survival, and the protection of their ancestral lands.
What began as a quiet movement of hope would soon become one of the most significant indigenous resistance movements in India's history. By the late 1890s, the forests of Chota Nagpur had become more than a home. They had become the heart of a growing movement. Across village after village, families gathered to discuss the future of their land, traditions, and freedom. Birsa encouraged his people to remain united, protect their cultural identity, and reject fear.
His message spread through songs, conversations, and oral traditions carried from one village to another.
Historical records describe increasing tension as colonial authorities monitored Birsa's growing influence. For many indigenous families, this struggle was about far more than land. It was about protecting an entire way of life. Communities prepared themselves with courage, determination, and a deep belief that unity could overcome injustice. The movement became known as Ulgulan, a Munda word often translated as the Great Tumult or the Great Uprising. What started as a call for justice soon became one of the most remarkable indigenous resistance movements in colonial India. The next chapter would test their courage and forever change the history of India's indigenous resistance. By the end of 1899, Birsa's message had spread across the forests of Chotanagpur. Thousands believed change was finally possible.
Families gathered beneath ancient trees, sharing news through songs, stories, and trusted messengers.
For Birsa, this movement was about protecting indigenous identity, cultural traditions, and ancestral lands. Historical accounts describe increasing concern among colonial officials as the movement continued to grow. Colonial authorities increased patrols throughout the forests, hoping to prevent further gatherings. Yet the forests themselves became silent witnesses, carrying messages farther than anyone expected. According to historical records, tensions eventually led to open confrontations between colonial forces and members of the movement. The struggle was unequal, yet many refused to abandon their homes, traditions, or hope for justice. News of the resistance spread quickly, reaching towns, villages, and colonial administrators across the region.
They are coming!
The decisive moment was approaching, a chapter that would forever shape Birsa Munda's legacy. In early 1900, colonial authorities intensified their search for Birsa Munda, determined to bring the growing movement to an end. Historical records indicate that Birsa Munda was captured in February 1900 after an extensive search. His arrest shocked indigenous communities, but it did not erase the ideals he had inspired. Birsa was taken to Ranchi jail, where he remained under colonial custody. Even behind prison walls, stories of his courage continued to spread from village to village. On June 9, 1900, Birsa Munda died while in custody at Ranchi jail, at only 25 years of age. Official records reported cholera as the cause of death. However, historians continue to discuss unanswered questions surrounding his final days. Although his life was brief, his movement transformed indigenous political consciousness in the region.
Today, Birsa Munda is remembered as a leader whose vision continues to inspire conversations about indigenous rights, identity, and cultural heritage.
His voice was silenced, but his legacy continues to echo through the forests where his story first began. More than a century later, Birsa Munda's story continues to inspire people across India and around the world. His vision reminds us that protecting culture also means protecting nature, identity, and future generations. Today, historians recognize Birsa Munda as one of the most influential indigenous leaders in India's freedom movement. His life teaches us that courage is not measured by power, but by the willingness to stand for justice. Across the forests of India, the memory of Birsa Munda lives on through stories, songs, and cultural traditions. His journey reminds us that every culture holds stories, capable of changing how we understand history. This is the legacy of Birsa Munda, an indigenous leader whose courage continues to inspire the world.